Around 2 weeks ago, Microsoft dropped a pretty big bomb. Full desktop Windows 10 running on ARM CPUs. And this is a huge deal that I think will significantly change the technology landscape as we know it. I'm Martin from TechAltar, and let me explain why in the 9th episode of the Story Behind series. Now, if you're sitting there wondering what all of this even means, here's the too long didn't read version. Windows 10 is a full desktop operating system that previously only ran on desktop processors. ARM processors, on the other hand, are mobile processors powering things like your smartphone and your smartwatch. What Microsoft just announced is the full desktop OS running on the mobile processor through a layer of emulation, which we'll get back to in a minute. And voila, that's all there really is to it. So why is this such a big deal? Well, because Microsoft has been trying to blur the lines between phones, tablets, and computers for years now, and this might just let them do that better than ever. With the current announcement, the same device could eventually be your phone, your tablet, your laptop, and whatever else you want it to be. Most ARM processors have the advantage of being much smaller, much cheaper, and much more energy efficient than their desktop counterparts. They don't require fans for cooling, and they even have cellular and other radios and antennas bundled together with the processors out of the box. While they can't quite keep up with the desktop processors in terms of raw performance, they should handle web browsing, basic gaming, and other simple tasks with ease. Microsoft specifically announced that high-end Snapdragon processors starting with their next big flagship, the 835, will support this new system, which means that hardware could actually be announced as soon as February or March of 2017. And while everyone, including me, is really excited for what this means for Windows on phones, I think that might be the wrong angle to start with, and we'll see a few other things first. Keep in mind that desktop Windows 10 for now only has a desktop mode and a fairly simple tablet mode, which means Microsoft will first have to develop a phone interface. And while they could take many things over from the existing Windows 10 mobile experience, that will surely take some time. So the first thing I expect to see is ARM processors replacing the kind of underwhelming Intel Atom processors in ultra-mobile laptops, tablets, and convertibles. This means really thin and light machines without fans for cooling, with constant 4G connectivity and good battery life. Basically, the new generation of netbooks that would hopefully suck a little less. We also haven't seen any new Windows tablets recently, and I imagine that's because manufacturers were waiting for this technology to hit the market. For example, the non-Pro Surface 3 was pretty underwhelming with an Atom CPU, but the Surface 4 could be a much more attractive package if the Snapdragon 835 were to give it a nice performance boost. This means that the first wave of machines could give the increasingly popular Chromebooks as well as iOS and Android tablets a run for their money, as on top of being just as cheap and portable as those, they could also offer a fully featured desktop OS when needed. Now, I think some people actually prefer the reduced complexity of their Chromebooks and iPads over full Windows computers, but I imagine many others would be attracted to these new machines. But of course, the wet dream of every Windows Phone lover to come out of this would be a Surface phone. A phone that would be super premium, run extremely well as a phone, and then when you plug it in, it would just turn into this perfect PC. No missing puzzle pieces, no tricks, no missing apps, it all just works. And while that's a really exciting idea, doesn't it just sound a little too good to be true? I think it does. And while we have real reasons to be excited, I think we shouldn't forget about the potential problems with them. The first of my concerns is performance. Windows 10 won't actually natively run on ARM processors. It will be emulated. This essentially means that the OS and the processor can't directly talk to each other. They have to go through a translator, which means processing power is constantly used up for the translations, and everything becomes less efficient. Full desktop Windows 10 is already a much more complex OS than any of the mobile OSs that were designed with ARM processors in mind. So having a really complex OS talking through an inefficient translator to a low-powered processor makes me really question how good performance will be. I don't want to call it slow without ever seeing it in action, and Microsoft did give us a demo which looked pretty impressive, but as you all know, demos really aren't to be trusted too much, and so I guess all I can do is worry a little and hope that I'm wrong. The second of my concerns is directly related to Windows phones. Sure, We know that Windows 10 works well on desktops, but if people are to replace their iPhones and Android phones for a device like the Surface phone, it also has to be, an appealing phone. On average, people have actually repeatedly shown that they care more about having a good phone experience these days than they do about having a good desktop experience. While I personally enjoy using a Windows phone as my main phone, I don't think the average consumer would like it. There is no Pokemon Go, no Snapchat, no app that I can use to manage my YouTube channel on the go, and even Microsoft's own apps work better on other platforms than they do on their own, and the list just goes on. I am a geek, and just like many other Windows 10 mobile users, I don't mind some quirks and workarounds, but the average user just wants things to work. I made a video on why I think apps won't matter in the future, which you can see here, but we are in the present and apps do matter now, so even if Microsoft somehow magically ported the full mobile shell over to Windows 10 so it can run on phones, this would still be far from a good experience for the average user. But okay, maybe the Surface phone wouldn't be a device for everyone. Maybe it would be for the enthusiasts and the enterprise user that wants to manage one device per employee instead of two. And I think that's a much more valid proposition. Still, even this leads me back to the same problems I had with Continuum. In my review of Continuum, which you can see here, my main problem wasn't actually the lack of apps, it was the fact that in order for it to work, the user would need a dock, a monitor, a keyboard and a mouse, or a laptop-like accessory which costs hundreds of dollars, which makes it not a whole lot cheaper or more convenient than just having a phone and a PC. Surely having the full OS running on the phone makes this much more powerful than whatever Continuum could do by itself. But again, some of the problems of that concept still remain here as well. I think Windows 10 on ARM is an incredible engineering achievement from Microsoft and a huge deal overall. But while everyone's attention seems to be captured by what this will mean for smartphones, I'd prefer to focus on really good, ultra cheap, ultra affordable laptops and tablets with Windows 10, because these are things that we can reasonably expect to come pretty soon, like maybe even 2017 MWC or probably Computex this year. As for mobile, throwing the full desktop OS on a phone is a game changer, but a phone has to be a good phone experience first, which will take some time and a lot of good universal Windows platform apps. Still, it sure as hell is an exciting concept for us enthusiasts, hopefully also for enterprise users, and who knows, maybe a few generations of refinement will give it some mainstream appeal as well. This is, after all, something truly unique that neither Apple nor Google can easily compete with for now. One question that I have seen from many people is whether Windows 10 on ARM suddenly means the death of the universal Windows platform apps. After all, classic desktop applications can now also run everywhere too, right? Wrong. Microsoft has stopped further developing their Win32 desktop APIs and put all of its efforts behind the universal Windows platform, which means that apps that want to make use of new advanced Microsoft features like Windows Hello authentication, Cortana integration, distribution through the Windows Store, and whatever else Microsoft comes up with in the future will sooner or later have to be a universal Windows platform application anyway. Also, if a Transformer-style Surface phone really hits the market and wants to succeed in it, it will need apps that run well on a phone-sized screen as well as a desktop-sized screen. So again, while the universal Windows platform hasn't been as warmly received as Microsoft expected, I think it is here to stay. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more from the Story Behind series where I talk about the unexpected and unexplored trends of our tech industry, then make sure to subscribe and also hit that bell button, because apparently you have to tell YouTube twice that you want to see my videos. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this video. I read pretty much all of the comments, and also follow me on the socials, and I'll see you either there or in the next one. Bye bye.